Today's adventure is going to be a Ford 10 screw AC pump. Actually, this one here was rebuilt by AC. It fits 65 to 73. A lot of the big block Fords, 352 up to 428s. And we're going to go through it, freshen it up, and show you how it's done the correct way. First order of business is going to be open it in the vise, grab it by one of the mounting ears, just make it nice and secure, and remove this filter can. They can be stubborn, so what you're doing is fighting against that rubber seal that's in there. Usually one of these handy dandy little filter wrenches will take care of it. You can also grab it by one of these tree bumps here. There's your filter and the rubber seal. Now what you want to do is we want to make sure that this goes back on the same exact position, inlet and outlet, that it is when it came off the car. So you can either take a picture of it, draw a picture of it, scribe a line between this casting and the body casting. Do whatever you can to make it so that you can put it back on this exact same way it is now. Remove these 10 screws. Just hold off on the last one, because usually these castings are stuck to the diaphragm. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. If they're not, you undo that last screw and it looks like it's going to stay, and it doesn't, and ends up going to the ceiling. So just hold off on the last screw. Just remove 9 of them. Now it's giving me a false sense of security here. This thing it's stuck to it. What I do is take a putty knife and set it right in between the two pieces of casting on the diaphragm. Just a few taps, and it'll pop it loose. Inlet and outlet valves. Diaphragm assembly. Now this can be the tricky part. In order to get this out, sometimes you have to knock the pin out. Other times you want to push this diaphragm down just a little bit, tip it back, and then just pivot it. And you're trying to unhook the diaphragm off of the link that's inside. Sometimes it works right away, sometimes it doesn't. This time it did. That's the little slot that it is. And down inside there's a link. There's your fuel pressure spring, the diaphragm assembly. And down in here is the seal. You want to get a big screwdriver, put it in between the seal and the cup, just push it to one side, and it'll come out. Save this, and then dig the seal out. You don't have to save this, because you're going to get a new one in the kit. It's not going to look just like this one, kind of flat. In fact, I'll show you what a new seal looks like. And don't you know it, I don't have one handy. I'll show you one later on. That's it for this. If you suspect that there's a problem, like if the arm twists or is a lot of side-to-side movement, then you'll have to knock the pin out. In order to do that, you want to cut that steel washer and just use like a 1/4 inch punch and knock the pin out. Careful of this spring, this is pretty strong. This one's kind of rusty, so I'm going to change it. But you're going to get a new spring, you're going to get a new pin, you're going to new seal, diaphragm assembly, the gasket, new valves, a couple of gaskets for under the valves, and if the person that does the kit remembers, you'll get a new filter too. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bead blast this to clean it up and be nice and shiny, and we're going to clear coat it and then flatten out these surfaces. But before all that's going to happen, I got to show you how to take these valves out. It's pretty simple. Go back to your vise. Just secure it in there. Just go easy. We don't want to break it. Take your screwdriver and, like this particular valve, go run it underneath this, push it down, and it'll pop out. Very simple. The other valve, you're going to get a little brutal with it. Just break out that middle piece. Now you can put the screwdriver in there and pop it out. You might have to use a bigger screwdriver. And it pops that one out. Sometimes there's gaskets in here, sometimes there isn't. This particular one didn't have one. Oh, I like to remove all these fittings because I don't like, you never know, something could be stuck in behind it. And I'll show you what not to do when it comes to a fitting. If you're going to put any kind of sealant on this, do not use Teflon tape. This stuff will shred as you're putting it in, and it ends up getting stuck in the valves. Bad. Teflon makes a paste to use instead. This is what I'm talking about, what happens when you're using that tape. See that piece right there? This is what gets stuck in the valves. And it holds the valve open and your pump stops. And then you send it back to me saying that something you did something wrong. When I take it apart and I find a piece of that Teflon tape stuck in the valve, you're going to pay for it. It wasn't my fault, it was yours. So, let's get cleaning. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, everything's been bead blasted, clear coated. As you can see, it's all nice and flat. Same thing with the body casting. give you a good seal right around in here to make sure that those two come together properly. It's time for assembly. In your kit you'll get these two washers, the two paper washers. Put them in right to that little ledge that's down there. And if for some reason you forgot which one you took out of which hole, look down inside. You see that this hole here is deeper than this one here, which would mean the valve would go in with the rivet up and the rivet down. Get those washers seated right down inside. Set the valve on top. Now you get a 1-inch driver, and just keep tapping until you'll hear the sound change when it bottoms out on that ledge. You probably can't hear it on the video, but just look around inside, because sometimes while you're pressing this thing in, part of the aluminum valve will come up as you're kind of shaving it. Make sure you get that all out of there. You wouldn't want that to go underneath the valve, because it'll hold the valve open and your pump won't work. Blow air in through the inlet, the valve will come open, allow fuel to come in. The diaphragm pushes back, drives it out, up through the filter, and out through the outlet. You should be able to blow air in, and you shouldn't be able to suck any air out. At this point, you can put the new rubber gasket on. Probably helps to put just a little dab of motor oil on that edge. Spread it around. It'll help it seal. Not too much, like I did. Put a little bit on that center post. It'll help this. It'll help the seal go, the rubber filter will go on easier. I put a little motor oil around in here. Just a small coating. Helps it spin on a little easier. The fuel section's done. Now we're going to go to the body. This is the seal, the new seal that you get. We make these here. We're using this retainer Put the seal in from the bottom, give it a little push. Make sure it sits right around the inside. As you can see, there's little dimples right around in here where the casting's been kind of caved in a little. You might want to just clean that up a little bit. Put the retainer down inside. Find something to drive it with. The thing that I usually use is missing right now. Anything, but not that. And not that. Isn't that nice? There it is. Just something to sit around that edge, just so you can tap it down. Once that's down, you can take a screwdriver and hit it in a few spots. What I do is I take a chisel and I flattened out the point on it for this very reason. I like to hit it in a few spots just to dent the casting so that it keeps this retainer from lifting up. Again with the motor oil, a little dab right in the center. You don't want that pull rod to run dry. Set the spring on there, pull rod down through the middle. Now you want to catch that link that's in there. This could be a difficult part, but with enough practice you'll get it. You're just going to push it down and hook it. Just the opposite of how you took it out. Back in the vise we go. Work that arm a few times just to make sure that you're definitely hooked on that. Find your reference part, set it on, get two of the screws caught opposite each other, one opposite each other. Use the arm to pull it down and run the screw about halfway down, just so it's, you know, it's caught in that casting. Put the rest of the screws in, run them halfway down. Once they're halfway down, every one of them is caught. Put something on the arm, like an adjustable wrench, just to give yourself some leverage. It's a little easier to hold on to it. Pull that arm up all the way until it stops. Now tighten down the screws while it's still up there. You're preloading the diaphragm, which will make it last longer, keeps it from tearing and ripping at the holes, the screw holes. Get 4 of them done. Should be enough to hold it. Once you get the 4 of them done, then just go around and tighten up the rest of them. rest of the screws, bring them all down. Just remember you're only going into cast aluminum, so don't hit it too much. Don't crank them down too much, but make sure they're good and tight. And you're almost done. Now you want to test it. This would be the inlet. So you want to put your finger over it, a thumb over it, to block it, and then lift up the arm, or try to, and you'll feel this suction. You want to make sure that what that's doing is making sure that your seal is good around here, your valve is sealed tight, and this gasket here is good. And you want to check the outlet, pull the arm up, block off the outlet, and let the arm go. You feel pressure there. Again, that just checks the rest of it. For all intents and purposes, this one's all set. That's all there is to it. Put a gasket on, fill it up with fuel, go for a ride. If you want to order a kit for it, for your particular pump, look around the outside edge of this. Usually there's a number stamped in it. Some of these pumps that have been around for a while, they'll have a metal tag on it. This one here says 41057. It's usually underneath one of these screws. But using that number, give us a call and we can supply you a kit. Here's one of the same basic design, different arm, different clock position. If I was to take that arm out, put it in this pump and turn this, it would be one of these pumps. And this one here is a totally different number. Just to give you an idea, they use the same exact kit. So by application, the 6838, our AC 6838 kit will fit these two and a multitude of others. But if you'd like to contact us, we're on the web at then-now.com. The phone number is 781-335-8860. And subscribe, hit the little bell button so you get a notification of when any other videos go up. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below. And that just about does it. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks for watching.